So we'll begin with the acknowledgement that our body is a reflection of the world. So as a result, we're bringing into this space bodies that are feeling things, experiencing things constantly. And in all of that, we're saying we want to be mindful. The intention is to stay present with everything that is happening in this moment with the body as well. So we'll start with practices today, and this is what we'll do in all our sessions together. The first thing we do from here on would be a practice. We'll start with an energy movement practice. It is a way for us to come back to the present moment, bring that energies into the space in this room and in this room, and then we'll move into body scan. So the energy movement practice will be guided by Dad, and I will guide the body scan. Right?
This energy movement for 10 minutes or 5 minutes? 5 minutes. Okay. So let's start for 1 minute of rubbing and breathing. Okay. So start rubbing your palms gently as you breathe in from the nose and out from the mouth. Gentle rubbing, not so fast, not so fast. Very gentle. Don't close your eyes. Keep your eyes fixed on the device in front of you. You can look at my face or any fixed point on that device in front of you. And look at, this is how the movement of your hands. We are not running on an express train. We are coming back to slow down. See if you can do all these three things simultaneously and also witness that you are doing these three things simultaneously. What three things? Breathing, gentle rubbing, and fixed gazing without moving the eyeballs. And also the fourth thing is deep listening to your surrounding sounds. Now we will do the clearing. Before clearing, we have to do just one balancing movement. Balancing and clearing. Okay? Okay, I'll remove the earphones. I go behind. I will not talk now. Just do what I'm doing. In between every movement, the breath is in from the nose. And Three breaths. Three breaths. Now look here. Roll. Roll your hands. Stay here and roll it near your belly for some time. Here's the energies from your body. At your throat. And then to end it, eyes fixed on a spot in front of you, tips of the fingers, and look at the pace with which I am doing. Very gently, barely touching, and gazing with a fixed gaze. Okay. Now, Aarathi, take over.
Good. Okay. What we'll do to start with the body scan.
I'm sorry, I'm actually not able to hear you.
Okay. Am I audible now? Yeah? Is that better? Yes. Okay. All right, great. Thank you. We'll start with body scan. There are a few adjustments I can offer. Like we acknowledged last time, not easy to sit with the body. But at the same time, the intention is to come to the body and pay attention to what is happening in the right now with the body. So some of the adjustments that I can offer is, of course, sit comfortably. There are no restrictions with respect to you have to be rigid. You can move if you need to move. One of the things I really like as an adjustment is you have heard the body scan script, at least in the session with me, and then a couple of times I'm assuming. What we can do that I really like to do with body scan is any the part of the body that I am instructing you to just notice, you can actually bring your hands to that part of the body, right? Just to kind of just stay there a little bit more, right? And sense into that place a little bit more. If you feel like there is a lot of pain, then also massaging that place as you stay with the sensation is another adjustment that is possible. Okay. All right. So you find yourself in a comfortable position. If you need, you can also, with the body scan, you can always lie down as well. All right. Taking a comfortable position on the floor, lying down or sitting upright with your feet flat on the floor, or you can sit cross-legged as well, whatever feels comfortable. Letting your body sink into the mat or the cushion or wherever you're sitting. Arms by your side or on the legs, your thighs, palms upwards. You can even stretch your legs out if you're sitting up on a chair, ensuring that your feet are placed comfortably flat on the surface. Just ensuring that you're comfortable. You may close your eyes, or if you prefer, you can leave them open. As you begin, recognize that by doing this, you're taking charge of your health. Best to stay awake, and if you find that you're falling asleep, sit up and continue with a gentle awareness of adjusting to your needs. Realizing this is a nourishing time, a time to open to sources of healing. It is important not to try too hard to relax. As best you can, become aware of each passing moment, realizing you're already in it. The moment is already here. Let go of the tendency to want things to be different, allowing things to be exactly what they are, allowing yourself to be exactly who you are, recognizing there is no cycle. Feeling whatever you're feeling without need to change it, bringing your attention to the fact that you're breathing. Simply experiencing the air as it moves into the belly, directing your attention to your belly, feeling the sensations in that region, noticing it expanding and deflating. Breathing in, notice it rising, breathing out, notice it falling. On each out breath, experiencing the letting go, allowing the body to become heavy and sink into the earth. When you feel ready, shifting the focus of your attention to the toes of your left foot, Taking your mind and moving it away from the belly, down to the left foot and down to the toes. As best you can, becoming aware of the sensation. What they are is not important. Just feeling the toes as they are. Using a blank is okay. Breathing in. Imagine the breath moving down to the toes. Breathing out. Imagine the breath moving up from the toes. When you're ready, on an out breath, letting this region dissolve and moving your attention to the bottom of the left foot, top of the foot, the ankles and the heels of the left foot. Noticing whatever sensations are here. What the sensations are is not important. Just feeling this region as it is. Even a blank is okay. When you're ready, on an out breath, letting this region dissolve, moving your attention to the left lower leg, the shin and the calf muscle. Bring awareness to the deep sensations of the muscles in this region. Breathing in, allowing yourself to feel into the sensations in this region. Breathing out, noticing sensations in this region. On the out breath, letting this region dissolve and bringing your attention to the left thigh, noticing sensations on the surface and deeper into the muscles of this region. Just noticing whatever sensations are here. You can also place your hand on the left hand. Feel into the sensations with your hand on the thigh. The warm, the coolness. On and out breath, letting this region dissolve and bringing your attention to the right toes of your right leg. As best you can, becoming aware of the sensation. What they are is not important. Just feeling the toes as they are. Leaving a blank is okay. When you're ready, on an out breath, letting this region dissolve and moving your attention to the bottom of the right foot, top of the foot, the ankle, and the heel, spreading your awareness through this region, noticing sensations here. Letting this region dissolve, moving your attention to the right lower leg, the shin and the calf muscles. On and out breath, letting this region dissolve and moving your attention to your right thigh, bringing awareness to the sensations on the surface and deeper into the muscles of this region. Breathing in, imagine the breath moving down to this region, informing you of the sensations in this region. Breathing out, imagine the breath moving up from this region, or allowing you to be informed of the sensations in this region. On an out breath, letting this region dissolve and bringing your attention to your pelvis and the buttock, bringing awareness from one hip to the other in this region, the contact with the feet, breathing into the entirety of this region, allowing the breath to inform you of the sensations in this region. Content to just be. There is nowhere you need to be, but here. When you're ready, on an out breath, letting this region dissolve, moving your attention to the lower back, experiencing whatever sensations are here. Maybe this is a region most of us have trouble in. Breathing in, imagine the breath moving down to this region. Breathing out, imagine the breath moving up from this region. On and out breath, letting this region dissolve, and bringing your attention to the upper back, noticing the movement of the rib cage as you breathe in. And breath, letting this region dissolve and bringing your attention to the chest and the belly. Noticing the rising and falling of the belly, and sensations in this region. Feel the movement of the diaphragm expanding and falling. Tune in to the beating of the heart, movement of the lungs. Acknowledging that the breath is nourishing and detoxifying the organs in this region. On one breath, letting this region dissolve, bringing your attention to the fingertips of both hands, becoming aware of the sensation, warmth, the tingling, bringing your awareness to the palm, back of the hand, the wrist, the arm, elbows, upper arm, shoulder, a reservoir of tension. Noticing sensations in this region. Adopting an attitude of relaxed observation, just being present in each moment, letting go of impulses to do. In an out breath, letting this region dissolve and bringing your attention to the next. Experiencing sensations of following the air moving down into the nose, becoming aware of your face, the jaw, the chin, lips, nose, the nose, allowing the temple to relax and dissolve, breathing in into the air, nice and warm, to your forehead, a place of stored emotion, breathing in to the entirety of the face, as if coming up from underneath a pool of water, letting it dissolve into neutral, not projecting one view on another, just letting the sea within the sea. Noticing the top of the head, back of the head. Imagine a spot at the top of the head, breathing in from it and out, as if like a blowhole, moving the breath through the body from the top to the toe, healing the body, the whole unit, sinking in to a state of wondering, a realm in which our limitations are not confined, allowing the world to be effortless, realizing the state of clarity is accessible simply by attending to the in. Truly, bringing attention to the room, the building, the city, the children, wiggling your fingers and toes, and opening your eyes when you feel ready. Good. Coming back. Okay. What did you notice? We'll first talk about this practice and then we can reflect on the week and what unfolded in the week in terms of your practices of your mindfulness.
Can I go?
Yes.
So it was really good today. Initially, when I was practicing, there was a lot of resistance for the couple of days. And then what I would do prior to even learning about and knowing anything about mindfulness is when I was anxious or something, I thought grabbing something would help. So when nothing was with me, I used to hold myself. I used to just hold my hand or just hold like this.
Mm.
And what I did in like when I was practicing this, when there was this resistance, so I started doing this because I remember you telling you could walk or you could stretch or something. So I thought, okay. And since then I started feeling calmer. And today I felt much calmer. I don't know, I could see like colors or something popping.
Mm.
But yeah, it was really good.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Is that okay? So you said really good today, and you said much calmer. Where did you notice that in your body? How do you have you know in your body that this was good?
Like, so in the very first session, my entire body was like anxious. And today, when I said that I'm feeling calmer, all of like my entire body was like, it was at peace. It was like, okay. There were thoughts. I was drifting. It was not, I was not able to focus, but I was drifting, but I was able to bring my focus back and
Mm.
observe what was happening. And then whenever I was just seeing, it just felt calmer, very calm.
Mm. 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 Okay. Um, Lovely. Did you notice the breath, Shileka? Like,
It was so like it was just harmonious. I think sometimes I was like I didn't notice throughout the practice, but I did realize it was really calmer. Like I'm just comparing where I am now to the very first time we had started practicing. um, yeah.
mm. Okay, great. Thank you. Now, if you were to, with a comparison, tell me what does calm feel like in your body? What sensations would you relate to calm?
What sensations would I relate to? There was no like I was not resisting it. I was just it was just happening organically. And I don't know how to talk about sensations, but it was just like, it was just this peace. There was no resistance, no hurry. That push and pull stance was not there. That kindness wala stance or something like that, calmness wala thing was there.
Okay, thank you so much. So it sounds like today, when you say really good, what you mean is that there wasn't any push-pull stance, but instead there was just organically sort of staying with whatever was coming up was happening. And then because of that, also the breath seemed to be, you said, harmonious and 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 also thoughts. There were thoughts that easy to come back and stay with the instruction. That was the experience today.
Yeah, and also this thing that I've observed is that I was not being too hard on myself. Like I was like, it's okay if you're drifting away, just try to bring it back. Initially, it was like, oh, how can you do that? You know, you just have to focus on this voice. You just have to come back. You just have to focus on whatever is happening on the body part or whatever. But then I was like, just trying to, I think I was being a little gentle with myself. Just bring back.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my grandmother is freezing here. Give me one second. Grab this. No, it's correct. Okay. Yes, what else? What you notice?
Can I go?
Yeah.
So I was very distracted today. The last time was much more peaceful, and I had like a kindness stance and all of that for myself. But today I was very distracted, and I was focusing more on what's happening on the outside. Like even when you were saying focus on your toe, I'm like, wait, the temperature is too cold. Like my toes are like feeling like, and then I'm like, okay, what is the sound outside? Like I was not able to focus. That was what happened today, and I was trying to bring myself back. And like Srirekha said, that she was not too hard on herself. I was also trying not to be too hard on myself and scold myself that, Are nahi, like, focus here. I'm like, okay, it's happening naturally. But I think compared to the last time, today was just more distracting. Yeah.
Okay. How does distraction feel in the body? If you were to not tell me about your thoughts, what would you say about distraction in the body? What sensations you have?
Just not being able to feel the sensation.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Not being able to feel sensation. A good one. It's actually also, we'll talk about this a little bit, but it's also called like absent, right? Numbness, or not feeling anything, which is then. Did you notice the breath, Aishani?
My breath was normal, but every time I knew that I was getting distracted, I knew that it was heavier. Like I was, that when you're restless and you end up taking deep breaths, that was what was happening. Every time I was trying to bring myself back, and then when I was trying to focus and calm myself down, I saw that the breath was again becoming calmer and mellower. But yeah, that's what I noticed. That distracted.
How did you, you're saying when I was there, like present, like you said something about focus. When I was trying to focus, my breath started becoming calmer. What is that like? How did you
So I knew that I was getting off track. Like your voice just became a blur in the background, and then I was like, okay, just focus on the voice again. So it's like there was a shift. I don't know how to explain it, but there was a shift from my own thoughts to your voice. That's what was happening. And every time I was focusing on your voice, then there was a direction, obviously, where you were directing us. So that's where the shift came in.
Okay, so it sounds like you were able to also sort of, there was a distraction that was present. And when you say distraction, that it means a lot of thought. And
yeah,
it came with just like if it's an instruction, then it's sort of associated with the instruction, but you would be distracted into what's happening, was it cold, yada, yada, yada. There were thoughts that were coming. When that kind of distraction.
And there were thoughts that were not related to this as well, like random thoughts. So, yeah.
Yeah, so during distraction, it sounds like you said there was some heaviness in the breathing. Like you were really trying to bring yourself back with sort of that breath, bringing your breath, into conscious awareness, like breathing deeply. And so you sense the heaviness that was present.
Yeah.
But just asking yourself to just stay with the voice allowed you to, that breathing also became a little bit regulated. And it sounds like that kept happening. What?
Yeah, and I think I also was breathing heavily or feeling heavy because I knew that this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I know the whole purpose of whatever we're doing, like the body scanning, like being in the present. But what I was doing was um, getting into thoughts that were not even related to anything. So I think there was heaviness because I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Just get back. So if I knew that I didn't have to practice this and I'm just lying down randomly and I had those thoughts, I don't think there would be heaviness. But because I knew I had to bring myself back, that's why there was heaviness. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Who else wants to go?
So today, like over the week while I've been practicing, I've stopped feeling as sleepy as I was. And today, I'm actually like, I won't use the word energized, but I felt a lot of the calm that Srilekha was talking about. And I was also extremely distracted. And like now after the body scan, it's like the parts of the body scan when I was present and listening and going through it while you were guiding us, I feel like I'm still more aware of those body parts than when I was distracted. Like as Ashani mentioned, when I was distracted, I was just cut off from that part of my body. So like my right thigh, it's like I still can't feel it. I'm not aware of it right now. So so yeah, just wanted to share that.
Beautiful. I think it's a great observation. When you say calm to me, Roshni, sorry. What do you mean? How does that feel in your
I think just being able to breathe because like yeah, part of it I was just not breathing, especially when we were focusing on the belly and diaphragm and all of that. But yeah, when I felt calm, I was able to take a breath in, you know. Otherwise, I found myself like gulping for breath or like gasping. So yeah, and like also calm felt like my breath was moving through my body, and I was able to do that exercise of letting my breath reach my toes and come back out. So yeah.
Wow, great, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else wants to share? What was some of you did mention home practice? Rashmi said that over the week you were able to, I mean, so that sleepiness is something that you were able to work with. Srilekha, you said something about the week as well, about how there was, today was a better practice than most of what happened in the week. I'm curious to hear more about what was practice like, what did you come to in terms of practices. Yeah. This is not just for both of you, anybody.
Yeah, I just have some trouble listening to you. Like your voice keeps going up and down in terms of volume. I'm not sure if it's a technical issue on my end or if others are feeling the same.
Yes, ma'am, your voice keeps going and coming.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, cool.
Yeah, this is better.
Better, okay. Home practice. What was that like? How did you manage to sleep less in the body scan?
Honestly, I didn't practice this week, but I'll make sure that from now on I practice so that I can also tell the difference like Srilekha and Roshni were able to. So yeah, this week I will definitely practice.
Another thing for me personally that I observed over the week, is that like there was a lot of like psychological resistance to getting down to doing the meditation. Like it took a lot from me to like actually push myself. I had to say like, no, I'm doing this and I'm doing this for like positive long-term change. It's just like it took about an hour of pushing myself before I could actually like, and like the whole day I just think, oh my God, shaam mein body scan karna hai, shaam mein body scan karna hai. It was like there was quite a bit of resistance. I think I'm not sure that I can say that it's decreased. But yeah, I've been making an effort to do it.
Yeah. I think I was actually going to ask Ashani that only, like what was going on that didn't allow you to come to the practice as well. And it's a great word, resistance. And I'm curious what was going on for you, Roshni, when you say resistance. What did you notice in your body? What were the thoughts? Sham ko karna hai, but and it sounds like you were saying to yourself, no, for long-term sort of benefit, it will help. What was also happening in terms of discomfort or resistance?
I think because like I got so sleepy during the session here last week. The first few days I thought I'll do it while I'm going to sleep in the night. I didn't want to do it during the day because I didn't want to get sleepy and be less productive. Yeah, but then like the first few days also I put a lot of pressure on myself to stay awake through it. So then like from like Wednesday I was like, oh my God, I have to try to stay awake through that. Sorry, but I just didn't want to, and that was a lot of what contributed to it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Ashani, do you want to share how come you just let the practice go?
I just got lazy.
What was that?
I just got lazy, so I didn't practice.
Lazy. Okay. How does that feel like? What does that feel like in your body to feel lazy and say, okay, I want to do the practice?
Release that, okay, nahi karna hai.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Others?
I think I completely agree with Roshni as well as Ashani. Even I was like, it was just years and years of getting carried away, not just sitting in one place. And when thoughts are coming, you're like, okay, that is better, much better to dwell on them, to think, to sleep, rather than, because just sitting and looking at it is a pain. Like looking at it in the eye and saying, okay, stop, you don't have any control over me, is a lot of work. But then I just kept telling myself, see, I think it's high time, and just imagine how strong you're going to come out of this. Like you at the end, you have control over it. It's not like you don't have control over it. It's just a matter of that fight and whatsoever and the battle, but it'll be over. So you just have to make yourself sit down and do whatever you can, but just get there.
So those are some of the things you had to sort of say to create intention to come to the practice, it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. Others?
So for me, today was better than last time, because last time I reported I was feeling really restless and I just wanted it to be over. Today, after the session, my feeling was lightheadedness. Like I was feeling like, even when you said that, okay, come back, I could for like 2 seconds, I could not come back. So I was feeling very lightheaded even after. And over the week, so I'm a regular like yoga practitioner. Regular as in since last 2 months, not a practitioner. And in that they focus a lot on breathing. And that is something that I've noticed that I've been able to do without any restlessness. Like it really helps me in many ways. And that is something that I've been able to do. But body scan is still, and especially since my last experience wasn't very great with my restlessness, I was like, body scan I can't do, but I'll do the breathing part. So I did deep breathing on a regular basis, but body scan was still like, the image was so set in my head that, okay, the last time was not good, I don't want to do it again. So even when, before coming to today's session, I was like, okay, we're going to do body scan, it's going to happen, and then I'll have to do it. But I think I kept my anchor as my breath. So last time it was your voice, and this time it is your voice, but like my breath is more of an anchor for me, and that helped me stay. But yeah, so that's what I'm a little confused. Like the breathing is okay, but the body scan is not okay. So that's something that I'm figuring it out for myself as to what's happening there.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. This is just rich information. Yeah. Anybody else wants to share?
I'll go.
Sure.
Yeah, so last week was a little easier for me as compared to today. Maybe the duration was also a little longer, so it was a little difficult for me to sustain that sort of attention and focus. But something that helped was the analogy that you used of, the platform, and it's okay for, like, the thoughts to come as like trains to come and go. So each time I was like feeling like I'm getting distracted, or I was drifting away, I was more mindful of that this time, though, that okay, I am not doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And it was easy to visualize that sort of platform, and then come back and then be like, okay, now I need to focus on what you are saying and what you're asking us to do. So that way it was a little easier, but my entire experience last time was better.
Last time when we did it together, or through the week, you're saying? Okay, when we did it together. Okay, all right, cool. I don't know, Shilpa, Priyanka, do you want to share? There is no compulsion.
Yes, I do want to share. Last week, I want to compare today's and last week's when we practiced together. So last week I had some deadline coming up in the evening. So the constant thought was like, what am I going to do? And even through the body scan when I'm doing that thought was like, how am I going to do that? So that was there. And today I had nothing on my mind, so I felt a little sleepy, but I was not too hard on myself. So I tried not to, fall asleep. But if you comparatively, I think my thoughts were much better today, because I was not too many thoughts were there, but I think that led to sleepiness.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Okay, good noticing. Thank you.
Yeah, so I enjoyed today's practice, and it was okay for me to bring myself back gently, though I had a couple of thoughts here and there. Definitely, as Roshni said, I also have that push and pull resistance to sit for the practice. Any practice, I would say, if I have to go to gym or yoga, meditation, anything that makes us healthier, we have that resistance in general. So, but over the time, with lots and lots of practice, definitely we get to a point where it becomes easier, and to take time for ourselves and sit for the practice. And that's what I noticed the last time when I did mindfulness, and over the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka. Yeah. All right. Wonderful.
Ma'am, like Radha said, it was longer this time. I also had this thought that last time you said focus on the toes of both the feet, and this time you are going one by one, and I'm like, arey yaar, ab ek leg, and then after that another leg. So even those thoughts were coming in, where I'm like, okay, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the function of the mind, right? The mind is look at everything that your minds have been doing today. Right? There's just so much comparison. In fact, each and every one of you compared this practice to another practice, right? Compared it, and so there was comparison that was going on. There was a lot of judging that was going on. आज का उतना अच्छा नहीं था. आज 2 legs separately करवाए तुम लोग, and there is a lot of sort of thoughts around. But आज like it's longer practice, right? And the mind is constantly comparing experiences, right? Like, I don't want to do body scan because every time I do it, I sleep off, right? I don't want to do, and then what happens in the mind, right? Like, then we start making conclusions about what it means, right? Aishani, you were saying, I know what body scan is supposed to do. No, like body scan, you're not supposed to feel like you felt in the first week, the first time. You can also feel what you were feeling, but it sounds like there is an expectation of what an experience is supposed to bring, right? No matter what whiteboards you open and write about what mindfulness is and what are obstacles to mindfulness, our minds will continue to generate these for us, right? Because we have to survive, no? And we have to show up and we have to excel and we have to evolutionarily at least be the only human being alive on earth eventually. Right? Like it's evolutionary, right? Like there is a part of the brain that is constantly making sure you're fitting the system, you're fitting the bill, you're fitting your own hopes for yourself, that if it's not happening, then let's like not do mindfulness, let's not do body scan, maybe we can do running on the gym, on the treadmill instead, right? I mean, there are so many options that it's like how, I don't know if folks here do this, but I have this practice of opening several books and starting 10 pages of each book and then leaving it there, because there's another option of another book that is so much more interesting, right? And that's the nature of the mind. The mind is comparing constantly, it's judging and it's making evaluations of what we should be doing instead. And something that we should be doing instead is never focusing on myself, first of all. And something like the body, I love what you all said about how parts of the body there was more presence. I was able to come back to some parts of the body. Some parts there was just complete absence. Roshni, you said something about that, right? Like, even now I don't feel my right thigh, right? And this is years of, and not just years, right? Through epigenetics, it is intergenerational traumas in our bodies, ways of functioning in our bodies to survive, right? If I'm going to focus on what is happening in my stomach or what is happening in my chest and stay with the sensations of it, God knows what the fuck will open up, right? In terms of thoughts and memories. Let's not go there, right? Let's sleep off instead, right? Our bodies have great mechanisms to protect ourselves from, unfortunately, ourselves, because we take on so much from the world. We take on so many burdens of who we should be as people, right? Like Sri Lekha was saying, just years and years of experience in having to survive academics, having to survive being gendered in a certain body, having to survive all sorts of things that we're supposed to be doing. Perfection, right? Like we perfect ourselves to function. That for that, we have to actually get out of our bodies to do it. And it's such a lovely description that you guys gave of what happens in the mind, right? What happens with the thinking, right? Like all over the place, and ensuring, look at the content of your thoughts, right? Like the content of your thoughts are either what should I do next, or just a bar, like what is this right now? Can't I do something else? Like anything that's related to our bodies, we don't have real practice with that, right? And within our bodies, our experiences of a lifetime that we've already lived, right? And our body is constant, it's alive, and it's alive with sensation. When you're alive, you're going to have sensations in your body. To look at them, none of us have that wherewithals, right? And also because we have been trained to not look at it. We've been trained to sort of go, right? So one of the biggest obstacles to mindfulness is experience itself, right? If you're looking at mindfulness as a as a meditative practice, then coming to a meditative practice, that judging mind will say to us, no, yesterday I slept. What's the point of this? We want results. What's the point of this? Right? I can only do mindfulness when I'm in the Himalayas, when nobody's irritating me. Yeah. It's not for us then. Right? So there is that expectation, right? Like what becomes the obstacle then is the experience itself. I'm constantly comparing this today's practice with yesterday's, day before's, another practice that I like better. All of that is happening to make me not be present with the practice itself, right? Like Priyanka was saying, even going to the gym can be like this, right? Any practice that I'm saying I need to walk closer to myself is difficult. Another obstacle, of course, is time, right? We say we don't have time. But if you look at your phone now, there was that new option on iPhone. You can see how long you have been spending on your phone, right? And then we say we don't have time, right? And really what we are saying is this relationship with time. That is an obstacle, right? But if you're saying I need to pull away time from something else for myself, I'm living on borrowed time. Borrowed time is not going to help me stay present. I'm always going to think I have to give back to something, some other system outside of you than yourself, right? So time becomes an obstacle. Space also becomes an obstacle. I'm sitting in this room. My grandma is the most quiet person. She's actually here. She's quite old, so she'll be lying down. But while I was doing body scan, she was eating. So all the cutlery sounds were coming. And I'm like, I don't know where to go, right? But like, okay, what is breathing? And saying, okay, this is what I've got. Right? So even our space becomes an obstacle to practicing. But something really interesting also showed up in today's practice. Each of you spoke about what happens when you're distracted, right? You spoke about, wow, when I was distracted, there was no access to breath. And then I had to remember, wait, come back. And then there was heaviness bringing myself back. But when I stayed here with the instruction, with my body, there was rhythm in the breathing. There was ease in the breathing. And that was experienced as calmness. Something is happening still. In spite of this evolutionary part of ourselves that is trying its best to sort of help us survive, something else also that is happening, where we have access to that moment of calm, when the breath is aligned to the sensations, and there are lesser thoughts. Right? There is curiosity to, what's happening there in the body. And what I'm inviting you to do then, this is beautiful, right? Each of you spoke about your stance, right? When I was distracted, two different toes I have, two different legs I have to look at individually. There was that stance that was showing up, push, don't want this. Right? And then there was a shift in your stance too. And then with the shift in the stance, or alongside with that shift in the stance, breath was doing something completely different. And then thoughts shifted. Oh, this is nice. This is calm. Even if it's for a moment only, that happened. There is access to something else in our systems and not just the evolutionary part. And you already know this. That's why you're here. We gave that list of what is mindfulness for some reason. You have access to that, right? And bringing that online is the invitation. It's only an invitation. It's not easy to sidestep what happens to survive, for us to survive. But this is also possible. Right? So I'm going to invite you into another practice today, a really short practice of, Shubhika and spoke about breath, right? We need to, it's a platform. Rather, I was talking about, it helps that sort of metaphor of platform and sort of stepping away from platform. Another practice called the awareness of breath allows for another sort of, okay, let's step away from this platform and look at what's happening in the body, in the breath, which is what we will do in a moment. But before that, do you want like a 2-minute break, 2-3 minutes break? Let's take a break and come back. 39, 44. Okay, all right. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. What is your sense of what is standing out for you with where we're at in our experience in this class, and what you're noticing?
I think the first 2 lines and then the last 3 lines where it says you do not have to be good, you do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting, because I think we put constant pressure on ourselves, and like there's so much heaviness because you always have this that, okay, you're not doing things according to what's good and bad according to the world around you. And I think half of the thoughts are about guilt or about the way you're supposed to be. And then it's very soothing that the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese and says you're not, no matter how lonely, the world out there is, announcing your place in the family of things. So you don't have to constantly live with guilt or with the way the world expects you to be. And it just feels like a little, it's a very soothing poem for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashani.
I think it's also a little bit about reaching out and creating a community, especially like the last part, because it says, whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese. I think it's just about reaching out and finding a community, because a bunch of like-minded people always exists, and you always have support no matter what. And yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to add something.
Yeah, sure.
So one of the lines says, the meanwhile the world goes on. So it says a lot about, we constantly think a lot about doing a lot of things, but it means that even if you don't do certain things, the world goes on. So that's what I would like to take from the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to add also. That one line only stuck to me also. Meanwhile, the world goes on. So the message there for me is to have a stance of allowing. Just allow. Allow whatever is as it is. So meanwhile, the world goes on. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
For me, it's the line, you only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Definitely, I know my body loves peace, but but I'm really not doing things to achieve that peace. Rather, I go into that thinking loop and stuff like that. So it's really important to recognize what our body actually loves, though it's hard to get there. I think everyone should, practice and every day to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's also a line that really speaks to me in the context of our conversation today as well. Just how much of clutter there is, right, in the mind that believes that you have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting, right? It's not just your thought, but you're also feeling like you're beating up yourself for the thoughts that you have also, right? This constant looping that is happening. But just what you said, Priyanka, is so beautiful. And it's also what comes up in this group, what came up in this group as well, right? Like calmness came up, and when you said, where is it in your body? You said something about the breath. You said something about, not being in your thoughts, right? There's something that is happening in the body. That's something that the body wants. And it's that sort of access, right? It wants that access where I don't have to walk on my knees. What does it mean to really listen to the body? And a lot of our practice and the invitation of our practice, especially for today, is that those obstacles are going to keep coming. You're going to make yourself walk on your knees for 100 miles. And like the world will still go on. You keep doing what you're doing. The world will still keep going on. What really is the invitation then is to access what does your body want? What does it love? Right? And also that peace, right? The world, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese. The wild geese don't sound beautiful, right? Like life is not like beautiful, like it's harsh and it's exciting, right? And it's calling us out over and over to become part of that community, right? But it is our minds that we're walking on our knees for 100 miles, and our minds also manifested by the world and its pain, right? But really, then what is the access we're really asking for and longing for when we are able to access the body? It's something to be curious about. And I don't want to obviously give you answers to it. Practice is to look at, wait, why am I not? This is so curious. I'm not feeling into my right leg, right thigh. Right? Every time I come to this used to happen to somebody in the program. Every time I come to my chest, I get distracted. Every time I come to my belly, I get distracted. Something, right? Yeah. To be curious then. Because we've tried walking on our knees for 100 miles. We've tried to sort of figure it out, fix it, beat ourselves into submission. None of those things have worked for us. Any other thoughts? Stop sharing.
For me, it was again this statement about how the world goes on, because I personally have a lot of fear of missing out. Like, I always want to be everywhere, do everything, and so this just instills this sense of letting go, and just being where I am and with what I already have, and kind of just having this sense of acceptance. That's what comes up, and something that was really nice in the poem was, tell me about your despair and I'll tell you mine. So it feels like we're all alone, but when actually we are not, because everybody has their own set of grief and troubles. So it's just nice. It gives that sense of community.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite you now into a practice of awareness of breath. And this is another practice that allows us to notice how often we go off into walking on our knees for the 100 miles, and to just come back to the body. It's a practice of doing something else other than sitting in the platform of the thoughts. Yeah, it's a short practice, so sit comfortably. Settling into a comfortable position, sitting up either on your chair or on a cushion, tilting your pelvis forward so that there is a straight line from the back of the head to where the buttocks touch the seat, letting your arms hang loosely from your shoulders. Placing your hands on your lap or knees or wherever comfortable. Taking a gentle and dignified stance, supporting your body, gently holding it. Simply follow the sensations of the breath. You can either keep your eyes closed or open for this practice. And as you do that, simply follow the sensations of your breath. Breathing in, feeling the expansion of the abdomen. Breathing out, feeling the contraction. Following the sensation for a couple of rounds of breath. Following your breath, noticing the changes of sensations at the nostril. Noticing the breath is cool as it goes in, warm as it goes out. Breathing in, breathing out. Following where the breath is most noticeable, at the nostril, the chest, or the abdomen. Trying not to breathe in any particular way, simply allowing the breath to breathe itself. Bringing an attitude of openness to your experience. If your mind wanders away from the focus of the breath at the nostrils, chest or abdomen, it's following thoughts, planning, drifting away, that's fine. Simply notice the wandering. Just guide it back gently to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Remembering the practice is in the noticing, escorting the awareness back to the center of focus and following the breath. Again, if your mind wanders, praise yourself for having noticed, and as best you can, bring your awareness back to the breath at the nostril, chest, or abdomen. Becoming aware of the changing patterns of physical sensations with each in-breath, with each out-breath. Bringing a quality of kindness to your awareness. Seeing each wandering as a chance to practice, to be generous to yourself, to open your heart to yourself. At the sound of the bell, maintain your attention on your breath for the length of the sound of the bell. Coming back into the room, opening your eyes when you feel ready. What did you notice?
In the initial, I think initially I was okay, but midway I started feeling very uncomfortable, and I was feeling very heavy in the chest, and there was a lot of discomfort in the process of focusing on the breath. And then again, when you said, like when you spoke about open your heart to yourself and kindness and generous and all of that, that's when I said all those things to myself and became better. But I think, like you said, every time you sit with yourself and you focus on what's happening for you, you focus on your like whatever's happening inside, I think you're just so uncomfortable and you haven't addressed so many things, like it just makes you feel heavy. And that's what happened for me. I think I was uncomfortable for most of the practice. Yeah.
And one of the things is that if you have a body, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Because things are happening always, right? Digestion, gas. I mean, I'm not saying that's what's happening for you, but things are always happening, right? And then there is sadness. There is other things that are happening, like emotional spaces. But it's as great recognition, Ashani. Just I like what you did there when you said uncomfortable. You told me what that feels like in the body, right? Sometimes the tendency is to just, of course, you're sitting in a class now, so you're having to sit in front of the camera. But I think our tendencies have been, if it's uncomfortable, I'll get up and go. But how farther away from your body can you go today? Such and to see that it's happening in the body. Like, it's not my mind telling me shut up and get up and do other things. Sure, that's also happening. But it sounds like there is a sensation, and then there is a stance towards that sensation. Because it sounds like the words generous, allowing, all of that did something to the stance, did something to how you were if you were leaning towards it or away from it. It sounds like you were able to lean towards it a little bit, and yet there was discomfort. I'm wondering about the breath there, Shani. Do you have a sense of how the breathing was like? You said heavy, didn't you?
Yeah, there was this sort of like that feeling when you're choking of sorts was what was happening in between. And I just had to take 2-3 like deep breaths like that, and then it became better. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, and again, I'm sure you're thinking, what the fuck did I sign up for? But you signed up for noticing these things, and it's not easy because our bodies carry so much. Our bodies carry us. And I think just getting informed of that can feel like a lot. But you're doing wonderful. I love what observations are coming up. So thank you. Yeah. Who else wants to share?
I can completely resonate with Aishani. That's exactly how I felt as well. Initially, it was good, and at one point, I just could not breathe. I was choking, and it just felt like something just came up. I don't know from where or what was happening, but then it just hit me hard, and then there was no going back from there. But then I was again able to focus, pull myself back a little bit, although it was not as good as it was when it started off. But then, yeah, it was okay. At the end of it, it was okay.
I'm curious about that evaluation of good. How does your body know this is good? What was happening in the body that told you this is good?
So I'm still carrying that energy from the body scan, where I was just feeling light, very calm, and all of that was happening. But then when I had to focus so much on my breath, I think something just happened. I don't know what it was. I think, like you said, maybe it's because something that we haven't addressed for so long, or maybe sat with. I don't know. There's still that heaviness in my chest. I can still feel that heaviness. And there's like this burning sensation, like literally at the heart chakra, if I can say. And also my palms are pretty cold and a little sweaty.
What is your sense of when these things came up? Were you leaning away from it or towards it?
I was trying to resist that for sure. But then again, I was just telling myself, if I keep resisting like I have always done, there's no, I can't change. So I think I have to sit with it. So yeah.
Did you notice how the breathing was at that time?
Yeah, it was very like, I couldn't breathe. I had to like just deep, like breathe in deeply to just get that. Like I was gasping. I was like, someone was choking, or I was choking rather. So
it's interesting to notice that conversation, right? If I don't stay with it, then I will never change. Almost seems like you're beating yourself up there, right? Like, sit there is what you're saying to yourself, right? And I wonder if I'm going to invite you to notice those pieces, right? Like, what would a curious conversation look like with myself, right? Like, what would it look like to say, what is that? What is the sensations there, right? Like, we don't have to go into the head and say that must be the trauma from 20,000 years ago, right? Like, it can be, we watch the sensation there, right? Because what we have access to is only sensations, right? Like thoughts and thoughts of the past and future, we can go off there. But right now's access is the body, right? And it's beautiful what both of you said about something happening in the body, right? It's like, and it sounds like both of you had this like teacher attitude, right? Like, sit down there like that. But to say, what's going on there, right? Like, we're trying to also welcome our body. We don't want to be like yank our ears and like sit there, but like a little bit, and then maybe go off perhaps. But
it was the very thing. I think the very thought that just an exercise of simple breathing and focusing on the sensation. It was very simple that you just asked us to focus on what's happening near the nostril and then focus on the breath. And an exercise like that was making me feel so heavy that, like Srilekha said, I still feel heavy, and I'm like, I don't want to look at what's happening. Like I don't want to go there. That's the sort of I didn't even tell myself that nahi, focus and like come back to the. I'm like jana hi nahi hai udhar. Like I'm just not liking the sensation so much, so that I don't want to even look into it. And I even had that thought that I don't even want to change, because I'm like, there's so much that's going to go into that whole change that I have to go through, that even breathing is, I don't know how to express what I'm trying to say, but I couldn't even think of that stance. Even the curious stance was getting a little too much, where I'm like, okay, what is happening is also not something that I'm able to get to. Yeah.
And to notice that, wow, this much drama is happening in my head. Right? Right? Just noticing that happened. Ah, gosh. The drama about doing the work is happening now in my head. And it's a thought that came up. And it's a very difficult thought, because it's making the body also feel like, this is it's like a prison. You can't get in without the right key and release. So you now have to go finding the keys for what is. Yeah, those are thoughts that are coming up. Making the breath heavy, making your body more tight. That's beautiful. Noticing. Look at what thoughts do to our bodies. Look at what thoughts do to that stance of, like, fuck everything. I want to go sleep. Right? Like, it's just we don't want to do those things because, and that's the impact of our thoughts, right? Our thoughts are impacting our bodies. It makes the heaviness is coming in, the heaviness is setting in. Oh my God, the work and the work and the work, and then you can't breathe and you're like, bas chalo. And that just happened in your practice. That's great to observe.
So do you say that it's the intergenerational trauma or the emotional baggage that we carry is coming up and not and giving these kind of experiences?
We'll need to get a little bit curious to know, really. I can tell you a lot of things, but we'll need to get a little bit curious to know. For me, it could be trauma. For you, it could be just like arthritis. We don't know. But to know that, we need to get a little bit curious.
Yeah. What I noticed with my practice is also that when I was doing it and following your instructions, I could really feel that here in my belly, the deeper breaths going in and out. But whenever I was drifting away with the thoughts, I could see that it was just right up here, not deeper. Yeah.
Now see, those are great observations, other observations, right? Like something is happening in the area of the breath, right? When you're able to access breath and stay with the rhythm, there is lesser thoughts, right? And then when there is going away into thoughts, there is shorter breath, right? Something's happening, there's some connection here. But we are only focused on what our thoughts are telling us to do, right? Itta kam nahi kar sakte, okay? It's coming. But the breath is saying some other thing is happening in the breath where you're able to access ease, and then you're able to, then the breath is saying, wait, you went off somewhere. Something else is happening, right? It's not easy work because we're trying to undo years of what our thoughts are telling us. But let's try, yeah. That's the invitation. Now, anybody else wants to share? No? What I'm going to share with you now, we're kind of close to done, but I want to share the handout that I shared on the WhatsApp group because I want to introduce some of these practices that you can take on lightly, right? Let's see. I'll share the screen. So what are you seeing? Do you see the Session2 handout? Is that what you're seeing? Yeah? Okay, great. Okay. You know, we spoke about how there are three aspects to mindfulness: intention, attention, and stance. We're going to practice some of that. The invitation is to practice noticing intention, attention, and stance. Okay. It could come through with that exercise. The intention is practice stopping. You know, am I remembering the fundamental motivation for my practice? There is an exercise here. List the things that you want to do on autopilot and things that you want to do intentionally today, right? You can list autopilot, intentional. What does intentionality make possible for me today? That's a little bit of reflection that you can do. Okay, and this is something to come to with practices as well, right? Like the invitation again this week is to continue to do the 10-minute body scan, and I'll also send you the 5-minute awareness of breath, right? You can ideally to do body scan and then find time to do the 5 minutes through the day, through this 6 days that we have. And to bring attention there, what am I practicing today? And the practice, if you're doing a body scan, is to just notice sensations in the body, right? And if you're having restless sensations, to notice that in the body, right? Like whatever's happening, we're noticing that in the body. With awareness of breath, intention is to come to the breath, come back to the breath gently, right? That's the intention. And this is something that you can do throughout. Like we spoke about informal practices, right? Things that you can, everyday things that you can do accessibly, right? So you can write a list of things you want to do autopilot, things you want to do intentionally, and reflect on what happens. Attention, what story am I telling or retelling? How far do these trains take me? And it was a great sort of train that Ashani went off into, right? Like the work, the shit, all that change. नहीं होगा मेरे से, नहीं करने का मेरे को. Right? He went off into a train to notice that. Right? That's the piece about attention. Right? Just when we are hitting at something in the chest that feels uncomfortable, we go off into this, attending into this world of trains. So just to ask yourself, what story am I going into? And this is a great exercise to do otherwise as well. You don't have to come to it because of a practice, a meditation practice, okay? The other piece is stance. We spoke about different kinds of stances, right? We spoke about the cold stance. We spoke about push stance, push one, right? When one doesn't want an experience, pull stance when one wants an experience, and a confusion stance, not knowing what I want, right? And an exercise to do would be, just even at any point in your day to write down, I want, I don't want, and to see how that push-pull feels like in the body, right? So notice what you feel in terms of emotions, sensations in your body as you complete those statements. You can do that in any time during the day. Just pick out that thing and do it, right? Now, other things that we looked at today that, are great invitations to practice. We looked at preferential mind, right? We spoke about how our minds are just constantly prefer one experience over another. There is an activity for that you can sort of look into if you want to look at what are the workings of the preferential mind. And then the breath, the awareness of breath, I will send it to you anyway, but there's a little bit of a written script for it. Okay. And we have something called the pleasant events calendar, right? It's an interesting piece of exercise to bring yourself to do. And be aware of a pleasant event at the time that it's happening, and use these questions to focus your awareness on the details of the experience as it is happening, and write it down later. So what you will write about is where you're aware of the pleasant feelings while that event was happening. How did your body feel in detail, right? Writing down that experience. What moods, feelings, and thoughts accompanied this, and what thoughts are in your mind as you write this down now. You can either do this as a daily log, right? Or use it in the best way that you feel, right? So these are all invitations to work with all the obstacles that we spoke about today. The obstacle of stance, the obstacle of stories, and where we go off into, right? And they're invitations to drop into another place of awareness, which is our bodies. To say, wait, what will show up? Yeah. Okay. Any questions at this point? Questions?
I had one question about the breathing exercise. So the way that I just want to know the way that I'm doing is correct or not. So the way that I breathe, I usually use counting as an anchor. So for me, it's like 2, 3, 4, 5 in, and then 5, 4, 3, 2 out. and that is something that I've been doing, and then noticing my belly going in and out. So these are the two things that I use as like rhythm and anchor that helps me be in that space. But so I just want to know, is that okay, or should I just focus on breathing? And
there are no right or wrong.
Yeah.
It is, I think we find these really creative ways to stay with the breath, and that's wonderful. Any other questions? So a recommendation would be to sit with that document and see how and what sorts of intention you want to set up for yourself. Because we're at any given point, we're practicing something, right? Is it mindful or not? Is for you to take that call.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. You said that look at what thoughts can do to you, that they can make you feel a certain way. But I noticed that when this exercise was going on and I was just focusing on my breath, I know for a fact that I started thinking about things after I started feeling heavy, not before that. So I was just wondering, without even getting into a thought where I'm just focusing on my breath, why was I feeling like I'm choking and heavy? Like, does your body just show up signs, or do you have to think of something for it to show signs? Because I know that I didn't think of something. Then after it showed up is when I started thinking. So yeah, that was my doubt.
They're all connected, no? Yeah. But what happened to you, will it continue to happen? That you only have to experiment and see, right? But they're all connected, right? Like the body sensation perhaps triggers a thought, then you jumped into that train, and then you made something out of the body sensation, and then now the body sensation became bigger because the thought is so scary. That's the loop. Yeah. And something happens when we're accessing and softening our stance and staying with our breaths, right? But we will experiment and we'll continue to do this and see how that shows up. Yeah. All right. Roshni, I think you got kicked out, but we looked at the sheet that I sent for the week, and we looked at some of the exercises there, and I said that it'd be nice to kind of create an intention to do some of that before we come back. And in terms of practices, I will send you the 5-minute awareness of breath. You already have the body scan. So continue to do the body scan every day. And the 5-minute awareness of breath will be something that you're adding to your practice. It's an invitation to do it. All right. Okay, folks.
Okay. Thank
I'll
you.
see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too.